race. And now let's go down pit road to my colleague
Thank
Mike
you, Chris.
Joy.
I'm with the defending champion Emerson Fittipaldi and the most successful driver of this young season, Al Unser. Last year, coming from the middle of the pack, the back of the pack twice, an impressive win. In this heat, in this humidity, will this be a race of patience today?
Well, I think it's going to be one of the longest and toughest races for the season. You know, be tough on the driver, be tough on the transmission. And, you know, the important thing is to be there at the end of the race.
Brazilians have won more than half of the Detroit Grand Prix. Is there something we don't know?
I hope we can continue that tradition.
Okay, good luck today. Al, how about this? An American has never won this race. What do we say to all these sprint car fans and the folks around the dirt tracks of America cheering their favorites and folks with names like Unser and Andretti?
Well, I just hope that we have a good day today for Valvoline. My major sponsor is the major sponsor of the race. And, you know, I think it's time the American did win this race. So
there are a lot of drivers here with a very serious approach, but I've monitored you on the radio, and you look like you're having so much fun out there.
Yeah, well, you know, if it ain't fun, it ain't worth doing, and we're having a blast out there. So I hope we have a good day and a good, safe day.
Well, let's hope it's a blast today. So, folks, cinch up your seatbelts and your shoulder harnesses, and stay tuned for the Valvoline Detroit Grand Prix.
We have an impressive array of announcers lined up to cover today's race. For color, drivers, David Hobbs and Johnny Rutherford. Working the pits, the valedictorian of Vroom, Mike Joy. And to do play-by-play, veteran CBS racecaster Ken Squire. Take it away, Ken.
Well, thank you, Chris. There's $1 million on the line, and that's going to turn the streets of Motown mean for these 28 Indianapolis car drivers who are at the ready for a challenge as difficult as anything they're going to face in 1990. This particular race calls for precision by every driver while you cook in those cars and while you go through this back-breaking course for 62 laps, 155 miles. It is grueling. Now, the key word here, the battle cry for this race, along with precision, is to always have your mind exactly on this race. You can't for a minute take your attention away, because if you do, you're in serious difficulty. A year ago, Emerson Fittipaldi, he stayed focused for the entire distance, and he came from the rear twice and won this event. This field today looks just as challenging. It ought to be quite a race. Right now, the command, which brings race temperatures to a fever pitch, is about to be given.
Ken, the most important words in Detroit this week have been, "Here's Joe Dumars." But for the most important words in racing, the man that will turn the ignition key and fire this race up, the Honorable Mayor of Detroit, Mr. Coleman Young. Mr. Mayor?
Gentlemen, start your engines.
This course, 2.5 miles, 17 turns, with everything in here but a Daytona or a Talladega high bank. It's the kind of course that can strike you without hesitation at any moment, at any place, but several areas deserve special attention. Earlier, our colleagues, the three-time Indy 500 champion Johnny Rutherford and David Hobbs, checked out some of those danger zones.
Turn number 1, the best passing place on the racetrack. It's nice and wide, has a good turn-in radius. So what's the problem? It's also the fastest part of the racetrack, about 175 miles an hour fast. Hard braking, down to about 80 miles an hour. The tire tracks tell the tale. Here's a look at Emerson Fittipaldi and Mario Andretti in last year's race coming together in turn 1. Now let's go to David Hobbs in turn number 9.
Behind me is turn 8, a 90-degree left-hand bend, followed immediately by turn 9, a 90-degree right-hand bend. And right on turn 9 is this nest of manholes. Every manhole cover on this racetrack has to be welded shut. Why? Well, the combination of those hot, sticky race tires rolling over them and the incredible vacuum created under these race cars to pull them down on the road is strong enough to suck these heavy manhole covers right off. All these manholes, of course, help to contribute to make this a very, very, very rough racetrack. John's moved on to turn 12. Let's see what he's got for us down there.
Turn 12 is not what it appears to be on the approach. It has a decreasing radius. That means that it's more than a 90-degree turn. And it gets a little narrow at the exit. Now, those two ingredients, coupled with the fact that it's at the head of a straightaway that generates speeds of about 140 miles an hour, can create some exciting times in turn 12, as we see here with Emerson Fittipaldi and Mario Andretti in last year's race. Now let's go to David Hobbs in turn 17.
Turn 17 is a slow corner, about 55 miles an hour. It's also bumpy, narrow and off camber, which is all very regrettable as it's also the last and possibly the most significant corner on this racetrack. It is absolutely essential to have good exit speed, as that initial thrust is what will make possible the pass that Johnny spoke of into turn 1 just a couple of thousand feet down the road. Some vital statistics: 62 laps, 155 miles, or 1,054 corners and over 2,100 gear shifts. Imagine sitting in a very cramped room at about 110 degrees, pumping your legs against resistance, raising and lowering about a 15-pound weight in each hand, while being violently shaken about non-stop for 2 hours. No timeouts, no cool dugout. This is not a simple afternoon drive, believe me.
Well, thank you, David and Johnny. Well, in a matter of moments, 28 of the finest racing cars in the world will flash under the green flag, driven by the best drivers available. Here's how the lineup looks.
Here is the starting lineup for the 1990 Valvoline Detroit Grand Prix. On the pole for the second straight year, Michael Andretti. Alongside for the second straight year, Al Unser Jr. Row 2, four-time national champion Mario Andretti. And the 1985 Indianapolis 500 champion Danny Sullivan. In row 3, a seven-time veteran of Detroit, Eddie Cheever, and Bobby Rahal. In row 4, it's Rick Mears of Bakersfield, California, and starting 8, the defending Detroit champion, Emerson Fittipaldi. In row 5, from Italy comes Teo Fabi with the first non-Chevrolet powered car in the field, and the Indianapolis 500-mile champion of this past May, Arie Luyendyk. In row 6, it's Belgium's Didier Tays and the Bruce Levin car, Dominic Dobson from California. Row 7, John Andretti and Pancho Carter. In row 8, the 15th starting position is Michigan Scott Brayton, and from Brazil, Raul Boesel. For row 9, Scott Goodyear, the young Canadian, and Roberto Guerrero in the Alfa Romeo. Row 10 is John Vikas of California and the leading rookie qualifier, Willie T. Ribbs. Row 11, Mike Groff from Northbridge, California, and A.J. Fort. Row number 12, Jeff Wood of Wichita, Kansas, and Randy Lewis of Hillsborough, California. Row 13 is Olympic Valley, California's Dean Hall and Finland's Tero Palmroth. In row 14, it's Hiro Matsushita of Kobe, Japan, and Tony Bettenhausen of Indianapolis, Indiana. Field completing the first of the 2 preliminary laps before they turn them loose here in the streets of Detroit. Live on CBS this afternoon. Here are the current CART standings. With 2 wins this year, Al Unser up on top, followed by Rick Mears, Emerson Fittipaldi, Rahal, and Luyendyk after that brilliant weekend he had back at Indianapolis. And there are the victors this year. Rick Mears picking up that win at Phoenix and the first win of his career. Kart racing for Arie Luyendyk at Indy in the 500, similar to what Graham Hill did a few years back. Troy Ruttman did back before that, winning at Indy. There you see turns 1 and 2 of this 2.5-mile course. Here are the earnings thus far. Pretty impressive numbers, Johnny Rutherford. $1 million. That's mostly Indy, huh?
Yes, and that's fantastic. A few years ago, the most I ever made for winning Indianapolis was $300,000.
And look at Unser Jr. at $500,000, and we're just down to race 5. From here, it's on to Portland, Oregon for these competitors in just a week away. Busy time in the schedule for the IndyCar drivers in the CART PPG circuit. There's the breakdown on the money to be paid here at Detroit today. Get your attention, David.
Yes, it certainly would. Actually, Johnny says he won $300,000 for Indianapolis. I haven't won $300,000 yet, period. So I'm still waiting.
There's the breakdown of the power plants that are in the field, and as you see, Chevrolet dominates. They have yet to be beaten this year. The last time that they were throttled was out at Mid-Ohio. Teo Fabi doing that a year ago, and before that they lost at the Meadowlands in a rain-swept race. Potential for rain about 50-50 right now. We may get a boomer before this afternoon is over.
Oh, we certainly hope not, because the weather here is humid today, but it, at least they say the rain may be later for us. We hope so.
There you see 86 degrees right now, the humidity high. wind bustling about, blowing the trees along the Detroit River as we get set for a start. Here they are coming down to that turn 12 area, which John was describing to you.
Yeah, this is the time when you get out there, Ken, and you want to make sure that the temperatures are coming up right on the instrument panel, that everything is happening for you. You're watching the car in front of you. You're moving the car back and forth to keep the tires clean. You're getting everything ready, your mind set for this start.
And for the driver?
Well, the driver, of course, at the moment, he's really concentrating 100% on that turn 1. And obviously his thoughts are very different from Michael Andretti, for instance, on the pole, and Al on the outside is going to desperately want to get there first. For people in the middle of the pack, of course, they have a very different strategy. They just want to get through the thing without anything happening to them.
Down to turn 16, around the pump house to turn 17, getting set for the start. Leonard Manley, who's been a part of motorsports for some 25 years, in the blue shirt, about to drop the green flag on this Detroit Grand Prix. And we are away, and they break them 3-4 wide getting down here to turns 1 and 2, John.
Tremendous. Everybody finds a hole and gets in there nicely. Nobody's bumping around. It's a very good start.
You don't want to be too wide on that 1 and 2. They've had 2 or 3 big races this weekend, and there's a lot of dust offline. If you try and go too wide, ooh, someone's squeezing through there. Rahal.
Yes, on the outside. That was a pretty nice move. I think he got the spot.
Michael Andretti leads. Go down Woodbridge here. Headed for Chrysler, which is a 90-degree turn, and then on to Congress underneath those trees. They pick up to about 140, 50, 60 miles per hour right down through this section of the course. From Bobby Rahal's viewpoint,
you can see him working with the steering wheel there. It must be very slippery. I'd say with cold tires, these guys are very, very busy right now.
90-degree turn on to Beaubien, and then it'll be a 90-degree, that quick switch back onto Leonard. Then you pull the gears and go for speed.
And you can see there his helmet bumping as he goes over those manhole covers and other bumps that we're looking at. Michael Andretti not pulling out quite as much as I thought he would on Al Jr. Quite significantly faster in qualifying, and I'm sure that Al really wanted to get in front of him.
I think it's very slippery, and the guys are just taking it easy and kind of seeing where they fit in.
This much humidity, this much warmth, we're running on the streets, all that oil oozing up through makes it a desperate situation in the early going till these tires hitch up.
And 2 races since they were last here. They had a very, very long Trans Am race yesterday afternoon, 2.5 hours of it. So the track composition has changed a lot since they were on it yesterday.
So this course is totally girded in oil and rubber from a day ago. As they come around to complete 1, it will be Andretti on the point with Al Unser Jr. riding in second, coming to the line through those switchbacks that make those final corners and into the long straightaway. Let's see if there's any.
Coming down to that passing spot that John was at.
Mario 3rd, Cheever 4th, Sullivan in 5th, Rick Mears next, and Fittipaldi still back there a bit. And remember, last year by this time, he was already dead last. It was in the very first lap that he and Mario had their little meeting down here in turn 1.
Yes, they came together, and M.O. cut a tire. He cut a right front tire and had to limp around, and everybody passed him, so he had quite a deficit to overcome, and we were surprised when he was able to make up that difference, come to the lead, and then he had another one where he lost it.
1 year ago, Michael Andretti dominated in the first part of this race, led for some 42 laps, looked like he was going to go home with it, then had a wire to the communication system in the car get caught up in the pedal, and that finally put him away. There you see Cheever being challenged. The number 7 car right there with him is Danny Sullivan.
Both these guys have got Formula 1 experience, and of course Eddie Cheever, probably the most experienced driver on this track, having done all of the Formula 1 races here before. The only race he hasn't done here was last year's IndyCar race, so he knows the circuit pretty well. But Danny Sullivan's giving him a pretty hard time at the moment.
Cheever in the number 15 runs in 4th. Danny Sullivan, the red and white car. Whoop, got one in trouble.
Al Jr. is off to the side there. I don't know whether he lost it or whether his car has had an engine problem. He's dead in the water. He's not able to go anywhere, and he's on the radio talking to the crew, and we can see the expletives there.
Yeah, he wants somebody to come and give him a push. Boy, I wonder what happened there. We'll perhaps have a replay of that. We may see it.
Shades.
So that gives Mike a big break.
Shades of Fittipaldi a year ago, having trouble in the early going. Yes. There you see Al Unser Jr. All that pent-up energy. Where do you put it?
He's ready to go. You can see that they're breathing quite hard, so it's a lot of hard work out there, and he is extremely upset at this point. He wants somebody to get to him, give him a shove.
That breathing hard, you can see just how much effort goes into these cars. I mean, we're just 2.5 laps into this race, and there he is breathing like that already.
Yes.
His heart rate will be up around about the 170 mark already.
Have one car, that is one of the Porsches limping in here, either the Fabi car or getting back underway or being pushed out to, I think he's underway.
They're giving him a shove. He's coasting. Look, he's coasting down the hill, trying to bump the starter, or trying to bump the clutch to get the thing started. He's coming over to the inside, taking advantage of that downhill. That's a bit of a downhill slope there. He's trying to use that if he can get the car in low gear and get it going.
John Andretti came on the pit road. Here's more from Mike Joy.
We're in the Al Unser pit, and they fear it's the ignition, Ken. The ignitions in these cars are all electronic. It's all black box technology, and they've got it all lined up on the pit wall, ready to go in the car, a whole new ignition system if Al can bring the car back to pit lane.
I don't think he's going to make it. It's he's an uphill scoot from there.
He's waiting for the trucks to come get him. There we see Michael. He's just got that nice lead, got the yellow flags out there in the turn where Al Jr. has rolled down to a stop, and Michael is going by him. We saw him there in the background. There he goes for the long tunnel. Michael has a very nice lead. And Mario's second, chasing him.
Well, there's a lap down. Al slipped a lap behind there, and if they don't have a full course caution here and go and get him, he's going to be 2 or 3 laps down.
Yeah,
desperate situation.
Trying to get attention there, holding his hand up.
I think he's asking for tow, isn't he?
Yeah, he wants to get, he wants to get somebody out there with a truck to tow him to the pits. If he can get there, he'll have a chance to get it fixed, maybe.
Meanwhile, 3 laps have been completed with Michael and Mario in first. Cheever stays in third, and going fourth is Danny Sullivan with Rick Mears fifth, Bobby Rahal in sixth, Fittipaldi is seventh, Fabi being reported in 8th, Lyondike 9th, and Didier Tays in 10th. Dominic Dobson has come up to 11th place.
And that was poor old John Andretti stopped in the pits. He's not had a very happy weekend with his brand new Porsche marks. He's not been terribly happy with the way it's gone in practice and qualifying, and he's already had a pit stop, so his weekend is not going as well as he'd like it to.
The desperation time in the early going is being suffered by Al Unser Jr., and it's a replay almost of a year ago. He entered this race and lost it then when a half shaft broke on it.
Is that John Andretti there going very slowly?
It looks like it has another Porsche, and it's very slow. There's the leader. And second place coming up on him to lap that car, the Porsche. So there's, we see Cheever and Sullivan.
Tremendous race between these two.
Hard.
Sullivan really all over him now.
Putting a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah.
John Andretti has had fuel pickup problems throughout the week with his new car. And that battle for third stays, and you look a little further back, and there you see Mears in the number 2 car. Right behind him, Bobby Rahal in the 18, running in 6th.
Now, they've been going at it since the green flag as well.
Followed by Fittipaldi, and then Fabi right there in 8th position. Lyondike maintains 9th. Tays is being shown as 10th. Dobson 11th. And Boisel is now 12th.
There's Roberto Guerrero, is it, in the pits?
Yes, it appears that he's in for a stop. Al Jr. is getting hooked up to the tow truck. They're getting ready to pull him back to the pits now.
There you see where Unser Jr.'s car has come to conclusion in this race with now a total of 4 laps complete. That's hard on him. Sponsor of the car, sponsor of the event. They really wanted to do well. Al has been here early. It's the Hall of Fame dinner on Wednesday night. All excited after those 2 wins. Thought he was really ready to run this one hard. Let's go to Mike Joy.
John Andretti is back in the pits for his second stop. This is a new chassis and a little new design of the engine placement in the chassis. It puts the turbocharger in front rather than behind the engine for better weight distribution. It's their first road course race with this new car, and they have fuel pressure problems. They're not getting the fuel into the engine. That may be part of the problem. As of this weekend, there's been no solution.
Look at that car. The second one there in the picture is Mario Andretti, and you can see his right front wing is drooping down badly. He's obviously had, if you look at that right front wing, he's obviously had a nasty coming together with something, and that will adversely affect his performance around here as he tries to wind in the lad.
There you see Michael, and there you see Mario, first and second positions, and there's the interval between them.
Cheever, in fact, is catching him up. Mind you, he is being chivied along. Cheever being chivied there. And Michael locks up going into 15. Difficult to approach that because you want a very sharp left-hander first gear, and you approach it around a little right-hand sweep. Easy to lock the right front there as it loses weight as you turn through the right, getting ready to go left.
Working lap 5 as they bring in Al Unser Jr. Set up in the front row for this race as he did a year ago, and after only 3 laps, it's all over for him. The leader continues to be Michael Andretti of Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Mario Andretti is in second. CBS Sports will return with more live coverage of the Valvoline Detroit Grand Prix after this message and a word from your local station. 62 laps here in the Detroit Grand Prix live today on CBS, and here's the battle. There you see car number 2 running in 5th spot, Rick Mears. In the 6th position, Bobby Rahal, and 7th, Emerson Fittipaldi. The blue and white car in 8th is Teo Fabi. 2.5 miles, 17-turn course. 9th annual get-together, and here you see Cheever in the car number 15, holding on to 3rd. Danny Sullivan trying to pluck it from him.
Eddie Cheever, of course, is in a 1989 Penske chassis with a Chevrolet engine. Danny Sullivan, of course, got a 1990 model. And next week, Eddie Cheever is hoping to get a 1990 Lola, which, judging by the way that Mike and Mario are going, as the chassis to have.
Here's Mike Joy.
They've just refired Al Unser's car and gotten him back into the race. The car had a very bad misfire. They replaced ignition components located in the right side pod and got him going again. And not much you can do to diagnose or try to repair a black box. All you can do is replace it. Al was fortunate that his car stalled in a position where he could easily be towed to the pits. If that had happened, say, at turn 3 or 4, he'd sit there for the rest of the race.
Unser Jr. has lost 8 minutes, 3 seconds. Al Unser Jr. down 8 minutes and 3 seconds, and we're early on in the event, working lap 7.
Pretty well impossible.
Yeah, that's very tough. He could, but that's, you know, it did take a special set of circumstances.
Now here's Rahal's car. The number of Rahal, number 18, closing right up on Rick Mears in the number 2 car. This is the battle for 5th.
Closing right up on him. Is he going to make a pass going to turn 1? Yes.
He does. He gets down in there. That's a perfect pass.
And they've swapped it a couple of times here in the past 2 or 3 laps. Let's see what happens this time. Bobby Rahal, that Lola Chevy, cranks out about a 2-car length advantage here on one of these blind 90-degree corners.
That's turns 3 and 4 here. Very tricky little complex here. Now we've got these left, and left. Up to the top here, where there's a very sharp left-hander which leads us back onto Congress. There you see the view out of Rahal's car as Rick Mears follows him through the park.
Gallus Craco car just flying down Larned.
We had a car hit the wall in that area a while ago. Taro Pomroth made contact with the right rear and bent it all askew, but he was still under power driving back to the pits. But nonetheless, I'm sure he's out of the race.
Here is that incident where you see the 44 car just in front of him trying to hold the line, and Pomroth out.
Yeah, he tried to go one way and the other car blocked him, and he was already committed.
Jeff Wood out of Wichita, Kansas in that other car. Pomroth, who had a really good run at Indy this year, came up with 12th place, will be a DNF here today. I'll tell you another fellow who's running well is Willie T, who started out in 20th and on the latest leaderboard shows himself now in 14th position. Raynor car.
Willie T is a tremendous road course driver. He's in good physical condition, and I'm assuring you today that's going to mean a lot to him.
I think so too. He's one of the toughest drivers I've ever met, and he makes a, you know, he's not a physical fitness freak, but he certainly does work at it.
And look at this battle going on as we follow Rick Mears and Emerson Fittipaldi. There they are. And now we're back again with Cheever and Sullivan. Battle for 3rd. The number 15 car, Eddie Cheever, who was 2nd in this race in its first year back when it was a Formula 1 event. Here you are with Mears fighting to maintain 6 over Emerson Fittipaldi. Again, here's Mike.
Looking at John Andretti's car, and the problem is indeed with this new design March chassis and the engine layout. Here's Teo Fabian right alongside. The fuel pump is located right at the top front of the engine. The heat from the turbocharger is percolating the fuel, so it can't get to the engine in the form it needs in order to ignite and run the race car. They've been spraying fire extinguisher foam at it, trying to cool down the fuel pump enough so it can do its job properly. Very disappointing day for the Porsche team.
Well, I must say that it's a little bit odd. They put the turbocharger between the engine and the chassis, because the engineers wanted a short run on the induction side so that it helped the throttle pickup. The shorter it is, the quicker the pickup on a turbocharged engine. The only trouble is the turbocharger is now right next to the fuel tank, and the fuel itself just gets inexorably hotter and hotter as the race goes on.
Watching Michael Andretti lead here in the Detroit Grand Prix with 8 of 62 laps complete. The battle between Cheever and Sullivan continues here, as does the battle further back between Bobby Rahal and Rick Mears, Emerson Fittipaldi. A quick report from Mike Joy.
Those flames are coming from the left rear brake caliper on Teo Fabi's car. He's apparently boiled the brake fluid, and they're trying to replenish it and bleed the brakes all at the same time. About an hour job at your corner garage. Here, a minute or two, but more importantly, what's causing that fluid to boil?
Back with more of the story of the Detroit Grand Prix. 1990 edition. It's a dandy so far. Shortly.
Well, the leaders are in their 11th lap. The Andrettis are leading. Danny Sullivan has passed Eddie Cheever, and Bobby Rahal is in 4th place. Not too many drivers have had trouble yet, but everyone could have trouble before this race is over if there's not a full course yellow. Fuel is a serious problem. They're going to have to refuel once they've completed 14 laps, but before they've completed 21 laps. And everyone to a man here says there is not enough fuel to go the distance unless there's a yellow flag. A yellow flag around the course doubles the fuel mileage. We'll have to wait and see. Back to you, Ken.
Thank you, Chris. 10 laps officially down, working lap 11, and there's the story now. You're watching the second place car, Mario Andretti, and that nose does not look good.
No, it's really, I don't know what has happened, whether it's come apart delaminating itself or whether he actually hit something. He's not been in a position to do that, but you can see there he doesn't have a right front wing.
Mike Joy has a report.
Ken, it'll be a quick fix when Mario comes in, but he's not due in for a scheduled stop until lap 25. The wing is all carbon fiber. It's all been wind tunnel tested. It's a very complex piece of equipment. With that flapping, of course, no downforce on that side must make that car very difficult to drive. It's a very quick fix. 14 fasteners once they get to pit lane, but to come in now and give up track position, he and they think they're better off leaving him out there and ride with it until the car becomes just undrivable.
I've never seen a wing quite that loose without actually coming right off. On the other hand, he has pulled away tremendously from that battle behind him, which was Cheever and Sullivan, and now is Sullivan and Cheever. So even with that wing hanging off, old Mario is still making a heck of an account for himself out there.
He really is. You know, that maybe they'll just leave it like that.
Absolutely. They found the trick of the day.
Now look at Bobby Rahal in car 18 closing in on Eddie Cheever. Here they are headed for turn 12 down by the Pontchartrain Hotel. Want to really get on the binders here, don't you, John?
Yes, this is that turn 12 we talked about earlier where Emerson and Mario had their come together last year. It's a very quick little left, and then down through this tunnel and headed for the big tunnel and back to the front straightaway again. So this is a very busy racetrack.
And again, that car on the tail end of the parade, the car that won a year ago, the driver that won a year ago.
Pretty ominous for the others, and Emerson Fittipaldi has in fact moved up to that bunch so strongly. I'm sure that he's biding his time, because this is a long race, and as Chris has already said, fuel is going to play a big part in the latter part of this race unless they have a full course caution.
Remember that Fittipaldi started in 8th. You see him in this picture running in 6th. Let's take a look at the running order after 10 laps. This is the running order after 10. You fans that want to know how the field is going, a little further back, we're just about ready to give you that, I guess. And as we take another look here, let's follow this battle just a bit further. Cheever in the 15 car, staying in 4th. Rahal right with him, followed by Fittipaldi.
This is a situation where you try to hold your position so you can get things in order whenever it comes time. You pass somebody, make the pass, gain the spot.
There's the running order. Take it down through the field now as we continue to watch this battle. Cheever in 4th, a second place finisher here at Detroit. And now we see car number 5 being rolled back once again. If it isn't one thing, it's another for Al Unser Jr.
Not having a good day at all. This is going to be no repeat of Milwaukee just a couple of weeks ago. Bobby Rahal all over Eddie Cheever like an extremely cheap suit here. He obviously is better on the brakes than Cheever, which could be a number of reasons cause that, but whatever it is, you just watch him close up in these braking zones.
drilling right down in there. Yes, look at that. He runs, as you say, he's just all over him. Very close. Cheever cannot take a breath without having Rahal in the mirrors, and that's what you want to do when you're running behind somebody, is make sure that they've checked their mirrors, and every time they do, you're right there. And it starts eating on them after a while, and then you can take over psychologically.
Now, NASCAR fans, of course, are used to these cars running real close to each other, behind each other, and at places like Indianapolis and Daytona, that's fine. But when you're following close behind someone here and you're accelerating so fast, all they've got to do is just miss one shift, and you join them in their own cockpit.
Right.
Be very, very careful.
Gets very, very dicey and close in there.
Al Unser Jr.'s car has been pushed off the track at turn 9, we are being told. After being down for 8 minutes, he came back out, and whatever the problem is, it's now terminal, and he is out of the race. Paul Newman looking on, very pleased with the Trans Am race yesterday when young Mr. Sharp came home victorious. Here we see Al Unser Jr. having to call it a day.
Great disappointment for Al Jr. His team sponsor is the sponsor of the race. They had very high expectations. Valvoline was certainly hoping that they could pull off the victory with Al Jr. and strengthen their position in the points. You know, he's leading the points, and if he could have gotten the 20 points for winning this thing, or even
any points,
yeah. Now he's out of the picture.
And so he's now really working out who he wants to do well in this race. The one person he does not want to do well is Rick Mears.
And really wanted to be the first American to win this race, first United States driver to come home successful. Right now, with a 7-second advantage, it's Michael Andretti reigning over the event with Mario in second and left front wing in trouble. Here's where the battle continues. As we see 4th, 5th, and 6th. Cheever, Rahal, Fittipaldi, Adam. Very difficult part of the course.
Yeah, well, Rahal's not careful. He'll be minus the front wing too.
Yeah, but you know, I think this shows the attitude of the race. Is the guys, maybe Rahal could force it and get by if he needed to, but the fuel thing, I think they've all been told on the radio, hey guys, we're going to have to take it easy. Don't stretch it. Don't really high rev it. Do a little short shifting. Try to keep that thing down until the end when it counts. And I think that's what we're watching here.
I'm sure you're right, and if anybody's going to drive in a canny fashion, it's going to be Emerson Fittipaldi, just loping along behind those two, leaving himself plenty of room. I'm sure he could get close if he wanted to, but he just wants to lay back enough, because if Rahal does get desperate and just happens to clip Cheever, Emerson Fittipaldi doesn't want to join the party.
Yes.
Just look how close they get to that wall.
14 laps have been completed.
This is this long left-hander, left again. Brake hard here, sharp left and out into Congress.
Yeah, extremely rough there on that exit, or the entry, I guess, to Congress Street. It's extremely rough. A lot of jostling around. Guys have to really be on their toes to be in the right place at the right time.
There's one of those double corners. That's 8 and 9. That's where I was standing at the beginning. And you have to really throw away turn 8 to make 9 work.
As we follow this battle among these three, the report is that car 6 is in trouble as well out here, that Mario Andretti's car has pulled off in the turn 3 area. We're getting a report on that Mario Andretti having trouble, and there he is.
There he is. He's obviously out of harm's way, but they're talking to him. He's on the radio to the crew. Maybe they can come over and bring something. You know, it's hard to tell at this point.
The Newman-Haas racing team, that Lola Chevy V8, sitting there in the turn 3 area and down. That leaves Michael up in front. There you see it coming off.
Yes, he just drove himself right out of the way.
4-time national champion, wanting to do so well here today and show up the youngsters on Father's Day, but not to be.
Yeah, we're getting word now that the engine seized. He had a bit of engine problems over there, and obviously had to pull it out of the way. So Mario Andretti is finished for the day.
That's the 3rd straight race in which Mario has had an engine cut loose. Bad break for Mario Andretti, but it makes this battle that we're following a little tighter. Up for 3rd spot.
Yeah, your leaders after 16 to 62 laps. Michael Andretti stays out front. Danny Sullivan, Bobby Rahal, Eddie Cheever, and Emerson Fittipaldi trail. Pit stops time in a matter of moments now. Just think about the Andrettis. The quality of their driving is diametrically opposed to the quality of their luck. Michael Andretti out in front as he was last year. In his 5 previous visits to this racetrack, he has never finished. In 1982, as an aspiring driver, he was leading the Super V when his car quit. A year later, he was challenging for the lead in Formula Atlantic when his car gave out. 2 years later, in a sedan race, he was riding along in 3rd place, waiting for the moment, and his car went out. In 1986, he came here full of ambition to drive in his first Formula One race, and they said he's not eligible for a license. And, of course, last year, he led 52 of the 62 laps before his throttle became entangled. Tough break for the Andrettis. Now let's go to Mike Joy with the senior member of the Andretti family.
And the junior member of the Unser clan as they discuss the course and what's happened to put them out of this race very early.
Right. Well, I knew you were there, so I gave you room for a little while, and I thought, well, you've got to be out of there by now. I mean, so.
Mario, what happened to put you out?
The engine seized.
All right. But that front wing problem that we watched the car bouncing around, how tough was it to drive like that?
Well, obviously it took quite a bit away from the car, but I was still doing very competitive laps, and we were going to go the rest of the way that way. I think it would have been still good enough to sort of defend what I had at least, because the car, I tell you, the car just seemed to really have come around since yesterday, and I felt so good about it, so it's just too bad that that had to happen.
Engine give you any warning?
No, not at all. It just seized up. You know, no, it didn't really, nothing came off the side, but the engine just seized up.
Sorry to see you out of it. Ken Squire?
Thank you, Mike. Let's take a look at those not with us anymore in this race. Palmeroth, of course, bounced the back of the car off the concrete, crushed a tire. He's out. Dominic Dobson, that's too bad. 86 car that comes down from the northwest is gone. Here you see that battle continuing as Cheever now has fallen to 3rd. Sullivan has moved around him, taken over 2nd place after Andretti. Mario fell by the wayside. So you have a battle going on between Cheever in the 15, in 4th, and Emerson Fittipaldi staying right there, 5th place.
And Emerson Fittipaldi, of course, has come up there from 8th with a couple of retirements, which has helped him quite nicely. But Emerson Fittipaldi really driving a strong race here this afternoon. Pity about Dominic Dobson, that 86 car owned by Bayside man, the Suprema from Bayside. And, of course, Walter Gerber, chief mechanic, drove for them a number of times in IMSA races in their Porsche 962.
You know, it's becoming it's a situation where it's just finished. It looks like everybody's kind of settled down, running in their place, but everyone's poised and ready. You can see Emerson sitting there behind Cheever, just ready for him to make a slowdown or the move that he can use to get by. Of course, we found out that Willie T, I think you might have mentioned Willie T. Ribbs, has moved into the top 10. And
from 20th.
Yeah, that's a tremendous drive.
It'll be interesting to see if he can make any ground now on Didier Tays, driving the number 9 car. That's a Buick power plant in that, of course.
Cheever getting a bit of an advantage now, drawing away from Fittipaldi.
Gives you night.
Mike?
I always enjoy talking to Al Unser before the race, Ken. We like talking to him a lot later from over across the way in Victory Lane better than right now. What happened to it?
It's just something electrical. That's what happened the first time we came in and changed the spark box, changed the ECM, changed the battery, and then I went back out, and then the same thing identical happened again. So there's a short somewhere.
You know, it used to be the driver could self-diagnose a lot of those problems and they could be corrected, but with all this black box technology, it would seem everybody's input here is real limited.
Yeah, the technology got us today.
Let's talk about the course and what kind of shape it's in. What kind of shape is the course in?
The course is real quick today. It's real fast. You know, basically we were just letting everything warm up, and then my problem happened. So, but the course is good. It's real fast.
That's that. Thanks, Al. Ken?
Bad day for Al Unser. And Fittipaldi, kind of surprising here. I wonder if he's really saving fuel or if he's got a problem.
I'd bet on it. I bet he's been told by the crew, look, take it easy, let him go, just keep him in sight, don't push.
There's the leader, Michael Andretti, with a lead of almost full 8 seconds over the second-place competitor, Danny Sullivan. Here is the Mears car, number 2, which is being shown in 6th place, and it is on
making a pit stop.
Here's Mike. Meanwhile, back in the lead, it's Michael Andretti in the number 3 car. looks like a standard pit stop. We're at that point. We're showing 19 laps. They might want to be in 12 and 8/10 seconds was the stop on Mears.
That's a typical Penske pit stop. That's where he makes up a lot of the difference on the other crews, is getting those guys in and out. They're very good at it.
There you see Michael Andretti, bottom portion of the course, headed for the tunnel. How difficult is that tunnel on a hot, sticky day like this?
Probably some sort of a respite to get into the shade there, I would think. Although the medical staff told us this morning that there could be some fumes that develop in that formaldehyde that develop from the burning of the methanol in these race cars, and if the wind doesn't blow it, clear it out of there, then it could be an ice marting situation later on in the race.
The drivers are having a bit of a break here, in as much as the clouds are rolling in. Doesn't look like it's going to rain, but it has definitely given some nice, which would be very much wanted cloud cover, because the humidity here today is desperate, and it would have been extremely hot. Chris's grandmother would have called it close. Drivers would use a different expression, the second word of which would have been hot. But now the sun's been covered over, it's not quite so bad.
There you see Michael Andretti. Still trying to improve on that lead, but it slipped a little. It's back to just a 7-second advantage. He had Sullivan covered by a full 8. Now car number 3 leads by 7 seconds. And here is Cheever picking his way around this course.
That's John Beekers being passed by Emerson Fittipaldi there.
Right, they're coming into some slower cars now. There's some passing.
Mike Joy is standing by with Roger Penske.
Roger with 3 cars in this race, and the first one came in at lap 19. Roger, was that a little early?
Well, I wanted to unhook him from the traffic. We were coming up on the slower traffic. The pits were clean. He could get in. We wouldn't be in the way of Danny and when Emo came in. So it was, we've got plenty of room on our differences between our pit stops.
Everything on the car's okay?
Fine.
Mears in and out, staying in 8th place. Fabi is the 5th retiree from the event. Electrical problems soured the Porsche's hopes today.
Yeah, all the wiring melted.
As you watch the Fittipaldi car, right behind it is Mike Groff, the 1989 ARS champion, the red number 50, making his first IndyCar start. And he was off to a good start. He started back in the 21st position, was being shown 14th when last we knew.
Yes,
right in front of him.
There was a bit of a little front end push in the same turn that he had trouble with Mario last year. That's Emerson Fittipaldi.
One of the turns he had trouble.
Yes, one of the turns.
There you see Groff closing up a little. And also back in there is John Beekes, the young driver from out in California, making quite an impression here at Detroit. We'll be back with more live the Detroit Grand Prix in a moment.
22 laps down. Danny Sullivan in and out of the pits for fuel. One of the more interesting drivers in newcomer racing today is 32-year-old Dean Hall of Palo Alto, California. It's his 5th IndyCar start, and in each race he's finished ahead of where he started. But he qualified at 82.5 miles an hour. That's 40 miles an hour slower than Dean Hall skied in a speed skiing mark on a 1-mile downhill run in Les Arcs, France in 1985. He skis at 123 miles an hour. Right now, he's way back, having lost several laps with brake problem. He has another unique distinction. He's the only driver in big-time IndyCar racing that wears a diamond earring. Ken?
He's also a pretty good freestyle skier, too. Now, here's Lyondike on pit road. Car number 30, Lyondike, 6th place runner, in and out for the Shearson Racing team. 21.3 seconds, and we're inside Lyondike's car as he heads down into turn 1.
Out into turn 1, keeping a pretty tight line here, just in case anyone's coming up. And there is Dean Hall into the tires.
Oh, that's a shame. That's he was out running well. I hope he's not.
Is that a turn 1?
His tires have got him. Yeah, he's coming out.
Here is the incident on Dean Hall's number 19. Looks like it's just locked up and goodbye.
Yeah.
That's not turn 1, is it?
No, that's turn 3.
Yeah, where Mario went. It's a good job Mario's car wasn't still there.
Yeah. He's all right walking away.
That's his brand new Lola.
Anybody that can walk away from skiing at 123 miles an hour got my
undivided attention.
Absolutely.
And Mike Joy has ours.
The Roger Penske team aiming for a trifecta, splitting their pit stops, as Roger told us. Danny Sullivan was just in, 14.5 seconds. Big intramural rivalry as they wait Emerson Fittipaldi. Rick Rinneman ready to change the right front. He's out in the pit lane, waving Emo into the pit. That bright orange sign, though, is hard to miss. Rinneman, who's also the crew chief, slowing him down, and he stops right on the mark. John Koninsky on the left front, Todd Hagenson the right rear, Mark Grimes on the left rear. David Kiefer has the fuel hose, and Steve Viedel has that vent hose on top. Done on the right side, finished on the left. Last splash of fuel, and there goes the defending champion of the Detroit Grand Prix in 14.2 seconds. A lot of cheering in the Marlboro pit. 0.3 of a second's worth of down faces here next door.
And right beside him, Eddie Cheever comes on in car number 15. Here you see them both coming back to speed. Cheever in at the same time. After 20 laps, let's take a look at the full running order of the field here in the Detroit Grand Prix 9th annual edition. Interesting as we watch the Fittipaldi story, Emerson said yesterday when they had that last practice and they were running on full tanks that he thought his car was working exceptionally, and he hasn't been pleased all weekend. As the tanks got lighter here, John, we saw him backing up. Now he's back at full song with full tanks. He may be in a better spot than he was.
Yes, it could be that he might be.
Michael Andretti badly pulled there by that number 44 who just came out of the pits.
Jeff Wood.
Waving at him. Look, he's saying...
Really? Yeah.
Hello, Jeff.
Yes, hi. How are you?
Excuse me.
Sorry, going on. But it's, yes, with the situation out here, the fuel that they're having to conserve and the way things are going, Michael Andretti is be interesting to see if he can go the distance running this hard.
There's the number 18 car on pit road. That's Ray Hall, currently in second place.
So Danny Sullivan just swept by, so he must have gone into second place.
Here we're looking over Ray Hall's shoulder as he bolts out of the pits, heading for the first turn. It gets a little bit tight here because the guy's coming from 175 miles an hour down to about 80, and you've really got to thread the needle.
Gallus Craco car coming back to speed again for Bobby Rahal. And the situation is this. Michael Andretti stays in first. Here's Scott Goodyear's number 11 coming out. Scott Goodyear in the 11 car is running currently in 12th. And here's that near miss with Andretti just a moment or two ago on Jeff Wood.
Yes, he's making the entry into the turn, and here you see Jeff Wood sliding right out. Michael had to get on the binders, get up in the gray, and that gets really slippery.
Really slippery. He didn't appreciate it much.
Yeah. There he is, a little...
He did have time to let him know.
Little friendly wave.
The other day, for instance, Eddie Cheever, leaving the pits, realized that he was going to bolt someone and almost stopped on the approach to turn one to let this traffic by, which, of course, you've really got to be a bit careful. It's obviously different in the race, but even so, you know, when you're joining and you're well down in the field anyway, you should really let the leader go by that.
You have the opportunity. You want to give them every courtesy you can.
7 cars remain on the lead lap with Michael Andretti staying first, Danny Sullivan second, Ray Hall is third, Fittipaldi fourth, Eddie Cheever's fifth, Mears is running sixth, Lyondike is in that 7th position, and a lap down it is Boiselle in 8th with Scott Brayton 9th. Didier Taze is 10th, and Willie T. Ribbs now stands 11th on the field. 12th position is Scott Goodyear's number 11, and A.J. Foyt has moved up from 22nd to the 13th position. Again, 25 laps are complete in our live flag-to-flag coverage of the 9th annual Valvoline Detroit Grand Prix. Stay with us.
With Dean Hall, who just walked up from his car. Dean, we did a little feature on you about your skiing, and the next thing you know, we see you going into the tires. What happened?
We had an early pit stop, and it broke a rear fitting on the rear brakes where the exhaust empties out on the new 1990 cars. And then I feel like the same thing happened again. I went into the corner, put on the brakes, and there was no pedal, and it just went straight in.
What about skiing and race driving? Are there any parallels?
Yeah, especially on a course like this. Skiing at slalom or giant slalom relies on entrance speed or exit speed. In some corners, you need to carry the speed through the corners. That's the same with motor racing. You've got to know when to put on the gas, know when to point your skis straight. So there's a lot of things that are exactly the same, actually.
On the track, who looks good to you out there?
Bobby Rahal's car looked to me like it was coming off the corners better than anybody's. He's the one that went by me. Michael's also, or Mario's, I can't tell, was coming off very nicely also.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Dean. Good luck to you next time. Ken Squire?
27 laps are complete, Chris. Michael Andretti has made his pit stop. He stays in first by 10 seconds over Sullivan in second. This is tape of that pit stop by Michael Andretti. And it was a tremendous stop.
Just exactly what he needed, and of course he has a quick drink there, throws it back into the pit. Wait for the fuel to go in. All the tires are done. Down and go.
Again, he is able to continue with the lead by 10 seconds over Sullivan. Here's Mike.
Not the quickest stop, but we've got to look at the tires that have come off Michael's car. Looking over the shoulder of the Goodyear engineer as he measured temperatures, they're quite even all the way across at about 195 degrees. And that's not a lot of heat, and there's not a lot of wear on these tires. And Chris, good parallel between skiing and racing. The brothers Mayer, Bill and Steve, downhill champions. Now they're accomplished SCCA Sports 2000 racers.
Here we see the lead car, number 3, Michael Andretti, staying up in front. Got a lot of skiers out here these days in this competition. Seems to be the new place to go. And the Mayer twins have come along and so forth. Eddie Cheever's had some problems out here. A little stop-and-go penalty on him, David.
Well, they had a stop-and-go for running over his air hose, which might have been one of those things that could be expected to catch him out, as he's a relative rookie at this type of racing. But while he did his stop-and-go, they quickly slapped on yet another new front tire, I noticed. So they actually used that pit stop to some sort of advantage.
Well, you have to be able to, and of course a stop and go like that, running over a hose. You're right. Cheever probably didn't realize, and the crew didn't get the hose out of the way, and that can be real dicey.
And it's put him back in 6th position. Cheever is 6th, Mears is 5th, Fittipaldi is 4th, Ray Hall is 3rd, Danny Sullivan and Michael Andretti stays up in front, and there you see, I believe, Danny Sullivan's car maintaining that 2nd position.
And he's only 2.8 seconds behind the leader, Michael Andretti, who just went out of the picture. There he is, going around that first left-hander up towards Congress.
See, they've all had a pit stop now, so they know what their mileage is. They knew what the cars were full when they started the race. They come in, they measure the amount of fuel they take out of the tank, it goes into the car, and now they know, so maybe they've turned up the wick a little.
Willie T. Ribb's car in trouble. The 10th place automobile. He's been 11th, 10th here over the past 20 laps, and the Raynor car in trouble.
Had a good run, too. Came up from 20th. And was driving really well on these streets, which he knows pretty well, but was obviously doing a good job. We don't know yet what is wrong with that car.
Well, after the fuel stop, they had them at a 10-second interval between first and second, and it certainly isn't that now. It looks like a second between them.
Being pushed out of the way, so it's done for the day.
Bad break for Willie T. Ribbs, who wanted his dad is here from out in California today. Old SCCA racer himself, and Willie T. in the new Cosby team car, looking to have a good day. Not to be.
Sullivan is not losing much ground to Michael at this point. In fact,
took a lot back.
In fact, I think he's closed the gap a little bit.
First time that Michael's been under pressure for the whole weekend. Friday, he was quickest in all the sessions. Saturday, he was quickest in all the sessions, qualifying and practice. Now he's under some pressure from Danny Sullivan.
Friday, he was quickest by 2 seconds over the field, and yesterday it finally got down to, what, 0.6 of a second between first and second.
There we see it's 2.2 seconds now, distance between them. We'll keep an eye on that and see if it closes up any.
Sullivan definitely trimming that car down to make a run on the leader.
And coming out of turn 2 there with that aerial shot, you could see that Michael definitely used up more of the road than Danny Sullivan. Not necessarily terribly significant, but it may be. Sullivan looking pretty smooth through there.
I didn't see if his crew made a change to the car. They could make a wing change in the front or something that might make it a little bit more comfortable for him on the racetrack, but he's definitely whittling down that margin.
Now, of course, there's one small snag to come, and that is getting around.
Getting by. Once you catch him, now what do I do?
Yeah, what am I going to do now?
IndyCar drivers can race at some breathtaking speeds, but what they do when they're off the course and driving their own personal cars, well, Johnny Rutherford asked the guys if they ever got speeding tickets, how fast they were going.
I got many speeding tickets.
A long time ago. I haven't gotten one lately. I must be behaving myself.
When you get one, you start getting them. I got to the point where I had 4, and I had to start letting Katie drive. I said I can't afford to get any more tickets.
It's been so long, I don't remember. How do you like that?
Sure, I've got speeding tickets.
I don't know. It all depends on which one you're talking about, really.
I've been lucky over the past 5, 6, 8 years. I haven't really had any speeding tickets. But I think what has really saved me is because nowadays we end up flying everywhere we go instead of driving.
Yeah?
How fast?
Goes about 200 kilometers.
What's that, miles an hour?
Oh, it's not much.
I seem to remember being with Mr. Squire on the way to Watkins Glen many years ago when we had a small speeding ticket problem. We had to wait for ages for the judge to come back.
I thought it was 200 kilometers, too, and it came down about 110 or something that you were running at that time?
Absolutely.
Well, today in the streets of Detroit, there is no speed limit for these 28 competitors, and here's the battle that continues. It's Michael Andretti in front, Danny Sullivan right there in second spot. Mike Joy has a report.
Teo Fabi is out of the race and early. He's had a third-place finish here in F1 and looking for a good run today. What put you out finally?
We had a problem with the brakes. The brake pedal was going away, so we had to stop.
Did the fluid boil or just lose the pedal?
Yeah, I think it was just a problem of temperature, too high.
What kind of shape is the race course in?
Well, I think it's pretty much the same. It doesn't change a lot. It's still very bumpy, but it's good fun racing here.
Okay, sorry to see you out of it.
Okay.
Well, it's good fun racing here. And there you see the leaders after 30 laps. And, of course, just right now, Michael Andretti would rather wish that somebody would give Danny Sullivan a speeding ticket, no doubt. Or at least flag him down and talk to him about it.
Well, Danny Sullivan stays in second place. Best finish thus far this year was third at Long Beach, road course that got the season off to a great start after the Phoenix Oval race. A lot of road racing in Indianapolis car competition these days, and these guys can sure handle it as they're proving here. Look at this scramble continuing to develop for the lead.
Sullivan is putting the pressure on, and there they've managed to get by another slower car.
That's Raul Boisel, who actually is the 8th place car going down. Lyondike next to go down, halfway coming up here. Halfway in the event, as Michael Andretti leading just as he did a year ago at halfway, or he had trouble. Well, we'll stay with you live here at Detroit for this great Indianapolis car battle. On CBS, Michael Andretti leads in the 9th annual Go.
Well, after 32 of 62 race laps, Michael Andretti is still out front, his fingers crossed. In second place, Danny Sullivan, who last year had a broken arm here. Lying third is Bobby Rahal. Then it's Emerson Fittipaldi and Eddie Cheever. You know, Grand Prix racing has always lured the rich and famous. Now, some have found a classic way to attend today's race. This vintage railroad car was built in 1920, the year I was born, and cost a few bucks more at about $160,000. The Fairlane was Henry Ford's private rail car, and for today's race, it sits on a siding next to the circuit. Sold during World War II for $30,000. It's 4 staterooms, 2-bedroom apartment, kitchen, dining room, servants' quarters, chandelier, and ornate woodwork have been beautifully restored by a private collector. Well, Mr. Ford used the train to visit his friend Thomas Edison in New Jersey and attend the Indianapolis 500. I'd be willing to continue the tradition and call it a home on the racing circuit. Well, as I await a reply to my selfless offer, let's return to Ken Squire and a few men who've done some stylish traveling on their own, David Hobbs and Johnny Rutherford.
That's perfect for Christopher, the new John Madden approach. Put him in a train.
Put him in a train. Send him somewhere. Yes, anywhere.
You'll notice that Mr. Ford used to go over in a train. Is that significant, do you think, in some way?
Not a bit. Back in those glorious days, trains were the rage. And here's the rage right now. It's Cheever in the 15 fighting in 5th spot to hold off Rick Mears in the number 2. That's the battle on the track, and that's a good one.
That between them is Hiro Matsushita, the Japanese driver. I think he's the first Oriental driver to take part in CART IndyCar racing.
And there's a big controversy about how to pronounce his name. But it's 4 syllables as far as he's concerned, and 3 syllables as far as the family and the sponsors concerned. Matsushita is the name of the company, but is what he wants.
Any number of ways.
Anyway, Hiro is running pretty well back. He's in 18th position right now.
There's the leaders up front hammering at it. Sullivan still putting the pressure on.
Looks like they're ready to lap AJ.
Yeah,
just in front of him?
Yes.
He's running in 11th. AJ is running in 11th, a lap down.
I spoke to AJ this morning, and he very cramped in that new loader cockpit. All these racing cars these days are designed more and more for midgets, and it's very hard. And AJ's a big guy, and he's just getting beaten to death in that cockpit, his elbows and knees.
33 laps are complete. Mike Joy?
Willie T. Ribbs has been in the pit for some time, and they've just refired the Judd V8 engine in his Raynor Cosby car. Turbocharger failure, the suspected problem. They've changed it, and they're still there, shaking their head, and don't have the car running right. Willie had a great run up to about 10th spot before this trouble sidelined him.
Willie T. Ribbs, who's been here before, running Trans Am, had a couple of second places here in Detroit, looking to do well today and losing lots of time now in the pit area.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with Willie over the last couple of days of practice, and he was very excited. His car didn't run well when they got here. They got it fixed. He was able to turn in some very respective qualifying laps, and he was excited about his first IndyCar run here.
He certainly went well. As Mike Joy said, he went extremely well in the early stages of this race, and it is a big disappointment for him. But that's one of the troubles with doing a restricted series of program of races. Nobody gets any practice. The team don't get any practice. The driver doesn't get any practice. Unlike these two, who are getting plenty of practice as they sweep round up to the Pontchartrain Hotel and down to your turn 12.
Next Saturday, it's Major League Baseball on CBS Sports. Many of you will see a National League East battle as the Cubs host the Cardinals at Wrigley, while others will be seeing the defending National League champion Giants take on Houston in the Astrodome. The action starts at 1 o'clock. That's right here on CBS next Saturday. Out of the tunnel, into the light, Danny Sullivan. And he hopes to get out of that tunnel created by the Newman-Haas car number 3. And at this point, John Andretti's having trouble back on pit road once again. They've had fuel pickup problems.
Had their problems today. They've been in and out of the pits and stopped on the course and things all day, so it's not a good day for Porsche.
Prettiest car here, though.
It really is a nice-looking race car.
Look at this battle continuing up in front. Getting a little bit of an interval again, about 7/10 of a second, whittled away another time by Sullivan. Where is he at his best and where is he at his weakest, Joe?
Well, you're talking about Sullivan. I think we saw him take on a load of fuel, and his car must have liked it because he suddenly closed the gap and was able to put a little pressure on. I think they're at this point are taking it easy, picking their way around, not wanting to stretch the fuel situation. So it's hard to say at this point. I think after the last pit stop, it'll be interesting to see who's got it, and I'm sure they'll show it.
Michael Andretti has stretched it to 1 3/10 of a second between first and second last time by here, and that doesn't look to be the case now. And let's take a look at attrition for a moment as to who has dropped out of our live coverage of the Detroit Grand Prix. Pomeroy banged his car up, bent the rear wheel right side. He's gone away. Dominic Dobson out. Al Unser Jr., who sat outside of the front row, he's gone. And Mario Andretti had engine failure once again this year. Teo Fabi, he's gone away, electrical problems. Dean Hall crashed. Spent some time with Chris there talking about it. And Willie T, I believe he is getting ready to come back out, or has as of this point.
This is the sort of break that Danny Sullivan needed. Coming up to lap the Indy winner of just a few weeks ago, Arie Luyendyk is definitely holding up Michael Andretti, and has been for that last series of vital corners, which has given Sullivan a good break.
And from Luyendyk's viewpoint, as the two leaders come up on him, now remember that Arie Luyendyk is running in 7th place on the tail end of the lead lap, and the leaders are trying to get around him and put him a lap down.
Oh, that's a tremendous shot. Rearward shot looking, and we see the catch up here. He's giving a break to the leaders. Obviously realized who it was, gave some room. Now you have to do the same for Sullivan or Michael Patey. One of the two.
The problem with this lapping is sometimes these guys look like they're holding up the guys, but you can't just suddenly disappear off the face of the earth and let them through. You can only do the best you can. And here we are at 8 and 9.
And you see that Sullivan has moved around Luyendyk, so he gets a clean shot once again, and Andretti for the lead, and Arie goes a lap down to the leaders.
Luyendyk must be wondering quite what happened. He had such a good run at Indianapolis.
A.J. Foyt back in 11th spot, 2 laps down. Let's take a look at how he's done in this race. Started out back in the 22nd spot, still on the game.
Up to 16th, 13th, and now he's up to 11th, having a steady race. I spoke to him this morning as he was walking away. He was just didn't like starting that far back, was the way he was talking about it, and all getting banged up in the car, and they thought they'd found something pretty drastically wrong with the transmission. They'd got something in wrong yesterday, and he was hoping it was going to go a lot better today.
But so much a better experience than a year ago when they had the fire in the pits here. A couple of his people were burned. And right now, it looks like he could be in for a good finish. We have 36 laps complete. Here's Mike.
Ken, while they work on John Andretti's car out on pit road, we're back with the spare car behind the pit lane. This new design March chassis with the Porsche engine puts the intermediate gears out in front of the wheelbase for better weight distribution. Also, they've relocated the turbocharger from this area up to the front of the engine, and that's helping to cause Andretti's problem. This block distributes the fuel to the individual cylinders. The heat from the turbocharger located right below is vaporizing the fuel in the block so it can't travel to the cylinders and fire the engine properly. Good idea in theory, and on paper, they've got some work to do to make it happen here on these road courses.
Dig out the dry ice. Try something. Too great a car just to have this kind of thing happen. Here you see Michael Andretti leading the advantage. It's just 72 1/100ths of a second right now over Danny Sullivan in second place.
58 of 62 laps gone. It's getting time for that second pit stop. Leader is Michael Andretti, as he has been from the front. Danny Sullivan a close second. Bobby Rahal third. Emerson Fittipaldi, last year's winner, here fourth. And Eddie Cheever from the Formula One circuit fifth. Willie T. Ribbs has joined us up here. I'm sorry you're here, not in your cockpit, Willie. What put you out of the race?
It was engine problems, Chris. We were running in top 10 in our second race, so the car was, chassis-wise, was brilliant. My crew did a great job, but we lost. Something broke instantly.
What are you going to tell Bill Cosby on the phone after the race?
Oh, I'm sure he's watching. He knows what's going on, and he saw we were doing well. We just had a problem.
Billy, you did great in sedan racing here. What's the big difference to you between these Indy cars and a heavy sedan?
Well, you know, a race car is a race car. They're nice to drive. But when Indy car is handling right, it's brilliant. It's the best car in the world to drive. It's just very hard to make it do what you want to do. But, you know, the team did a great job, the Reynard team. So, you know, we'll wait for the next one.
Yeah, how's your sponsor hunt doing?
Well, Bill and our marketing people are doing a great job.
Okay, trouble on the track. Excuse me, Willie. See you next time. Back to you, Ken.
Hiro Matsushita in car number 10. The Lola Cosworth expires coming down the straightaway, coming apart and coming right to conclusion directly across from us. Car number 10, and that is part of the Dick Simon cars. He brought 3 to this race. And the young Japanese driver, first Japanese campaigner in the CART PPG IndyCar Series, trying desperately to get out of this machine.
Hooked up with his radio hookup.
Yeah, I don't think there was any problem there, but he didn't want to stick around to find out if there was a problem. I think it's just a little oil and some of the insulation inside under the thing that's causing the problem. The crew will get down, take the cover off, and it'll subside.
He wasn't going to sit there and say, "Is it on fire?"
Yeah, no. You can tell, right, David? You can tell when they're on fire. It gets real hot.
18th position was what he was riding in when trouble came for Hiro, and puts him out of this Detroit Grand Prix. Leader by 87 1/100ths of a second. It still stays tight between first and second place. Danny Sullivan right there in second. Here you see the number 20 car, the Alfa Romeo Roberto Guerrero's car, which had such a great run here a year ago and hasn't had very much fortune at all in 1990.
Now, and Alfa Romeo are going to want to get their act together with this car, because this is spearheading their marketing program for their new cars, which they want to sell to the American market. And they have to, you know, this is the marketplace they want to go for, so they're going to have to make that car go.
Yeah, they're another team that's ordered a new Lola, so they will have a Lola chassis with their new engine. I think it's targeted for Cleveland, so that'll bear watching.
Gentlemen, down here in my host position, the wind is about to blow the top off our stand here. I don't know whether that's a predecessor of rain, but it is tremendously windy, and I'm wondering what that means to the drivers.
I think it really doesn't make a lot of difference out on the course. It's fairly well protected with the walls on either side. There we can see the flags are really blowing. The trees are blowing. I don't think it would be much of an effect on the racetrack.
You're kind of protected in a street course like this in particular. It eddies around a little bit, but you would know better than anybody. It's somewhere like Indianapolis, a wind like this would be a disaster.
Yeah, wind like that really tells on you because it blows the car around very bad, and at 200+ miles an hour, you don't want to be blowing around.
The thing those crews are looking at right now are those barometers. They start sinking.
Yes. That and this fuel thing. We're still, you know, these guys are pushing along pretty good. Sullivan's closed up again and is really pushing on Michael, so you know, maybe he's got it figured.
The average speed at the moment is very high, 85 miles an hour.
You see Scott Brayton in the 10th position here. He's running in a lap down, tail end of that lap down. Didier Taze is just in front of him in 9th, and that is another one of the Dick Simon cars. This is the car they put the most emphasis on, this very small team which has brought 3 cars here. It's a tremendous story. Simon bringing 3 machines into this event. They thought this was one of the most important events, one of 4 that they've keyed on for this year. So Hero drove for them, and Scotty Brayton is doing just a terrific job out here. Pomeroth was the other driver. So he started 15th. He's up to 10th position, continues to work his way through the field in car number 22, Coldwater, Michigan's Scott Brayton, who is now in his 85th start and is trying to improve on that Long Beach finish of 9th and Indy of 7th. And there's still a ways to go out here. 62 laps mark the distance. 40 laps are now complete. Looks like a new race record for Indy cars is in the making unless we get a caution at better than 85 miles an hour.
8 hours, so it's not so far away by airplane. Better luck next time, and thank you, Chair Palmouth. Now to Ken Squire.
All right, we're down to the last third of the race, and it's still a dandy as Michael Andretti has that Newman Haas team up in first place, and here's Danny Sullivan in second. Let's take a look on tape at Mears' pit stop just moments ago. Remember, he is in 7th, now being shown a lap down. Eddie Cheever was just put a lap down. Correction, Lyondike was put a lap down. I think Cheever's gone a lap down as well.
Cheever's a lap down now, but of course, Cheever lost some vital time by having to make that second stop for that stop-and-go penalty.
Did you see that? 11.9 seconds. Those guys are so good, and they make it look easy. They do it so fast.
Let's go back with the leaders. And this is where the struggle continues. Right on the point, Andretti and Sullivan in it, and in it strong.
And that point that Tero Palmroth had to make was exactly what I had said just a bit ago. When you're racing this closely on a street circuit, boy, you better make sure the guy in front doesn't make a mistake.
Yeah, that's just exactly what happened. He checked his speed a little bit. Tero had to make a move to keep from running into him, and it put him right into the wall.
Working the 45th lap with the leaders right now, and there's the rundown after 40 through the field. And still it stays, Andretti versus Sullivan, in a real great struggle this afternoon. May have our first American winner here in the Detroit Grand Prix. The Brazilians have won it 5 times, with Piquet winning, and Fittipaldi last year, and Senna 3 times in a row back in the Formula 1 days.
But we want someone called Smith to win it. Andretti, that's pretty marginal, you know.
Unrelenting, isn't he? Car number 9 has been having a great day. That is the Didier Taze car, and that's the Buick power.
Yeah, that's a V6 Buick turbocharged, and that's a good showing because he's running, you know, quite a bit out of his element with the turbocharger boost down at 45 inches like the CART allows. Here we've got Emerson into the pits.
Fittipaldi, 4th place car on pit road. Here's Mike.
And a very slow entry to the pits for Fittipaldi. Ken Emerson had been talking on the radio about possibilities of brake difficulty in that car. Fitting the 4 new Goodyears, fuel going in, down off the Jackson, a push away to assist. Not getting going. No clutch or no first gear now. Just very slowly, as if that clutch is slipping along. Fittipaldi's away.
The man who defeated Scott Pruitt here a year ago, and Mario Andretti, Teo Fabi, finishing 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. He's having his problems today, but he is back underway.
And about to go a lap down, too.
That would leave 3 cars in the lead lap. Andretti, Sullivan, and Rahal, with Rahal about a minute down to these 2 leaders who continue to contest the top spot.
That might explain his slightly tardy performance. If you've got a clutch problem here, or worse still, you're missing a gear. If one of those lower gears goes away, like 1st or 2nd, I mean, it really hurts your performance around this track.
Oh, it does. It just doesn't. There we see A.J. Foyt, my buddy from Texas.
Down. Oh, he's getting out.
He's getting out. He's throwing the shoulder harnesses over the side. He's coming out of that car.
He had spun at turn 11 and was running in 11th. When it comes to end, AJ Chevy powered this year.
Looks like Michael has pulled out to a little bit of a lead again.
Jeff Wood staying well out of the way in that number 44 car. I hope he knows that Danny Sullivan's there as well. Yeah, that's very tricky when you're being lapped. I mean, those mirrors aren't exactly cinema scope screens. They're pretty small, and you see the car coming up on you, and if he's right behind the guy's right behind him, you don't see the second one.
Yes, and
waving through and then pull over. Oops, sorry about that.
Yeah, it gets a little bit dicey, and you've got to really pay attention.
Working the 46 of 62 laps in the Detroit Grand Prix with 3 cars in the lead lap. Andretti, Sullivan, and Rahal.
Back to Detroit, Mike Joy on pit road as Danny Sullivan now has trouble getting out of the pit. They free up an air hose and Sullivan's away. He was one of the first to pit in the first round. This time they really held him to put the pressure on Michael Andretti as long as possible for the stop, and just came in, got him out again. Little Phillip with the air hose there. Emerson Fittipaldi will be coming back to pit road. Fittipaldi has clutch trouble. He's just about run the car out of brakes. He's been having to use that clutch an awful lot to slow the car for the corners, and whipping out of the pits has just about fried it. So Fittipaldi will be headed back down the pit lane. The crew awaiting him. Mike, but if it is the clutch, nothing they can do. Okay?
Michael, there's a problem on car number 7. I think he's coming to a halt. I wonder if it's a half shaft. What's the problem out here?
I really don't know. He came out of the pits when he got his car started, and back in turn 1, he went through the gears, and it just suddenly started slowing down.
And it was laying sparks. It almost looks like it's collapsed. The wheels look fine from here, but
no, the right rear wheel looks like it may be askew.
It could be loose or broken.
He might have broken a half shaft or something there as he was trying to leave, and is just bumping around.
Well, he's still in second now. Emerson Fittipaldi, teammate, is back on pit road. Penske team isn't having much luck at all here, and here's Emerson Fittipaldi, winner of 11 kart races on pit road. Mike?
Ken, they're going to put the car in the air, and that's a very tough sign for this unscheduled stop. They think it may not be the clutch. They're hoping it's something in the drive line. They were wiggling the rear wheels, trying to see if there was a problem in either side of the rear suspension or one of those half shafts.
Michael, get ready, because they're going to bring the other car in right behind it. That car of Sullivan is having a lot of trouble coming around the track. Maybe getting down to you in just a moment. We're watching Danny Sullivan now in the final corners being lapped by Scott Brayton. No, it isn't. He was at turn 12, actually, and now headed down for the tunnel, so he'll be to you shortly. Meanwhile, Fittipaldi falls back into the 8th position. Sullivan is dropping back, officially 3rd overall now. Rahal has made up the minute on the 2nd place car, Sullivan. He's still being shown in the lead lap, but not for long. And Michael Andretti, as was doing a year ago at just this time, actually it was just at this time, he was out of this race a year ago.
Boy, that's what you don't want, a very slow-moving car in that tunnel. You're coming out of the bright sunshine into the tunnel, and there's poor old Danny Sullivan going slowly. That right rear looks deranged to me in some way.
I think he's lost a right side half shaft, and he's only driving with one. There, he's very slow up the hill. I don't know what the car is.
Just a few yards short of the pits here.
Don't know what that did for your heart, but I'll tell you, that frightened me to see him that long in that darkness where you really don't see anything. Mike Joy.
Ken, the problem was on the pit stop at the right rear tire out on the outboard side of pit lane. They had a misfire with the air gun that tightens up the signal nut that holds the wheels. Got a problem with the hose. Apparently, they couldn't get air over to that gun and couldn't get that wheel tightened on. So the question is the wheel still on the car? Michael? And secondly, did he strip the splines that hold that wheel in place?
Michael, we're watching it now, and as we observe it, we could just see them putting it back on. We didn't see the finish of that, which is where the problem was, and he has come to a halt right at the turn 16 area. Now, there's the finish. It came down looking like a regular stop, but immediately there was a problem.
Now, you see the right rear man come out waving his arms. He didn't want Danny to leave because he knew he didn't have that wheel tightened up. So Sullivan is being pushed by the corner workers now as we see through the trees there, and hopefully they'll get him back to the pits and he can get that tightened up. And
I think they're pushing him off the track.
They might be. He may be out of harm's way.
And this man, Michael Andretti, continues out in front in car number 3. Michael Andretti. was 13th in this event in 1989 after sitting on the pole. Boy, he's really going now. We'll return with more live coverage after this message and a word from your local station.
Michael Andretti continues to lead, and his fingers are crossed. He's due for a fuel stop any moment. 2 weeks ago at Milwaukee, he led with a lap and a half to go. His car quit out of fuel. Bobby Rahal, Eddie Cheever, Rick Mears, and Harry Lyondike Trail. This $1 Million Grand Prix is the fourth and final race of the Valvoline weekend. Oh, we got a report from Mike Joy. We'll talk to you later.
This is Michael Andretti's pit stop. Plenty of fuel and no change of tires. What a roll of the dice this is, but Andretti stalls it. And all the advantage they would have gained by not changing tires, they'll have to bring out the starter, ram it in, fire it up. Michael just about stalls it again, getting away. So, again, a great idea, but a little short on execution.
Heart stopper.
Boy, that was close.
For Michael Andretti, the leader on pit road, 22.5 seconds and back underway. Now, let's look on it one more time. Here he is coming on the pit road. Observe.
Now, you know, he's up in the air. They're doing the no tires. The guys are putting the guns back. They're getting the tires out of the way, putting in fuel. He throws his drink bottle away, lets the clutch out, and it quits. It will be interesting now to watch to see if he put any strain on anything, a half shaft or something that might tell later down the road for him.
Well, that's the thing. When he stalled it, it was just over the 12-second mark, about 12.4, and it was finally over 18 before he got rolling. So a pretty quick stall, actually, but the thing is, he's got such a huge lead now, he should be able to run at a much more conservative pace, which I think he's going to need to conserve fuel, because so far he's running at an 85-mile-an-hour average, only 2 miles an hour off qualifying.
And here's the battle. The car number 22, Scott Brayton, fighting with Didier Tays in that Buick-powered machine. And they just swapped positions. Scotty moved into 8th position. Didier dropped to 9th. Second place car on pit road, Bobby Rahal's Lola Chevy. I don't think he wants rubber either.
No, they're not taking tires either. They're just taking on fuel. He's down and getting pushed away. Gets a good clean getaway. No wheel spin, moving. Didn't have the wasted time that Michael did, so that may work to his advantage.
The pit lane here is even more rough than the racetrack itself, which is hard to imagine. And it's somewhere where you've got to be very careful on accelerator. You can really snap a drive shaft like that.
Third place man, Eddie Cheever, on pit road.
You can see the car bounce there. That's what David was talking about. It is extremely rough. Into his position, into his pit.
Ooh, an AJ Foyt in front of him.
Mike Joy standing by.
Mario Andretti's out of the race and might have left by now, but he's staying for the SCCA Volunteer Workers Beer Party because you're the host. How'd that come about?
Well, I owe that to them from last year. They really gave it an extra effort to get me out. Twice I got into a tire wall, and they pushed me out, and they saved me third place, so I definitely owe them that.
Told the guys on the site when they pushed him away, I owe you a beer, and now he's come back to buy him one. What a tough break for Michael. It looked like he could have gained a big advantage there with that stop.
Oh, he has a big advantage. He's in good shape. No problem.
Still just like a proud father on Father's Day.
Mike Joy, that's some beer. That's 800 people that got working here today.
That's why he said buy him a beer. A beer each.
Yeah, right.
That's going to be plenty.
One beer and 800
Mario
straws.
will take care of all of them. You can be sure. Now you see the 9 car on pit road running 9th. Didier Tays. Didier having just a great run in that Penske Buick, stays right in the hunt. Again, the top 3 in the lead lap, Andretti, Rahal, Cheever. Andretti had trouble on pit road, but still has the advantage by about a minute over the second place man, Rahal, and all 3 leaders have been on pit road, as you see the complete rundown through the field. And now 9 is in trouble and on fire.
It's on fire. When they pulled the hose out, and I noticed when we went away from it.
Mike.
A big scatter here along pit road from the Granatelli pits. There are 55-gallon drums, water jugs, and fire extinguishers all around here, but the big problem is a methanol fire is impossible to see. There is no flame. So everyone in this area scattered. Fortunately, the fire was confined to a very, very small area and extinguished rather quickly, but a very tense moment, and the one thing that everyone along this pit lane dreads the most.
Let's take a look at exactly what happened to the Vince Granatelli team on pit road.
You can see him coming out with the hose there, and suddenly watch them all back away. There it goes. You saw it. You see the fire right there. There's the only thing you see, and Didier is hot. That's what we were talking about a while ago. That's the way you know in one of these. He is struggling fiercely to get out of that thing. They've got to get some water on him because he is wicked with fuel trying to get the fire put out. He's been obviously burned a little bit. They're taking him over for an examination, but that was a graphic situation.
And that's why these days all these crews have to wear crash helmets and the fireproof overalls in the pit lane. It's a very, very good thing.
That's the gas man on the Vince Granatelli team. Looks like he may have got some burns down around his
Yes, and it was interesting when he sidestepped the clutch to leave. Here's another car. That's Scotty Brayton in. They're moving the Granatelli car out of the way.
Chris Economaki.
Well, we've got two drivers out of the race here. Danny Sullivan soaking what, Danny? I know your car trouble. Specifically, what was it?
Well, we didn't get a wheel on in the pit stop, and I went out and Chuck radioed immediately that I had to come back in. So I drove around slow, but it came off and it wouldn't drive because there was nothing hooked to the wheel.
Well, you know, we just saw Didier Tays bail out of his car on fire. What goes through a driver's mind when that fire flares up?
Just to get out, you know, and get out as quickly as you can.
Thanks for coming by, Danny. Good luck next time. Terrell, Roberto Guerrero here, having trouble all season long developing a new car. Your troubles today?
Well, Chris, first it took us like 10 laps to get the engine going, and then eventually we got it going, and then it broke. So it was a tough day.
You've been out 15 or 20 minutes, and you're still perspiring. What's it like in the cockpit from a climate standpoint?
Well, it's pretty hot, but you know, once you're in the mood, you don't even notice how hot you are. You just sweat a little bit.
Oh, thanks very much. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Dave Bashford is talking with the CART doctor. First off, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Little bit of a burn.
Yeah. Probably ought to have him just go up just for an observation, just for insurance purposes, Vince, okay?
Okay.
Send him down whenever he's ready to go.
Okay, thank
you.
That's the CART doctor talking to car owner Vince Granatelli. David, what's that like when that happens? I know there's nothing you can see. It's a fire you can't fight.
I have no idea what happened. I just pulled back and the stuff started getting hot, and that's all I know. Then I started getting drowned with water.
Glad to see you're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
Laps running down at the Detroit Grand Prix. Didier Tays, who is looking for a great finish here today, out of it in the Vince Granatelli car. Michael Andretti holding on for the win. Randy Lewis's car, number 12, being rolled back, the RC Aero car. That machine had been running the Penske Buick. Is just behind that. This is what happened a few moments ago. It's all over for that car, which had a really good day going up in 11th spot when it finally came to conclusion for the Penske Buick. Chief man out there, Mark Bridges, is feeling a little bad, a little lonely out there. His car's on the backside of the track, and with 6 laps to go, they're now not looking for anything but a trip to Portland, Oregon. Here's the leader, and it remains Michael Andretti. And that Lola Chevy is dominating by about a minute. And look at this record story. A year ago, we had 3 cautions in this race, John Rutherford, and today it's been caution-free. And over all these manhole covers, 154 of them, it's like playing hopscotch at 100 miles an hour, a lot more serious. This guy has been just as strong as the manhole covers. He's run right through them, and there's no alternative in a lot of places. You take your choice, but you're going to get one sooner or later.
Yeah, and it's a situation where Michael has shown all day extremely well. Took the lead at the beginning, only relinquished it on pit stops. I don't think he even did that, did he? He's led the thing all day, so he's dominating factor. And of course, it's coming down to the critical point here. Those last 2 or 3 laps.
I hate to. I mean, it's bad enough when you're driving. You think I've got this wrapped up. I hate to talk about people winning races before they've actually won it, because it ain't over till it's over. But I mean, he looks in very, very strong position. And incidentally, that wind is just getting unbelievably strong here. And but again, I don't think it'll affect these guys. They're hidden behind the wall on the front straight here by the river. It is a strong wind.
Tremendous eddies of dust coming up here from just off to our left across the track. It's blowing some. Andretti first, Ray Hall second, in a lap unto themselves. 5 laps to go.
Nearly a lap down, or nearly a lap on the field. Michael is just behind Bobby Rahal, who is in second place. So if he hurries it up a little bit, which I don't think he will. At this point, Michael's got nearly a lap lead. Why should he take the chance and just sit there and coast and collect?
There you see the interval between second and first, not first and second. Second place could be overhauled before it's over. We've Reviewing further back in the field for you, Eddie Cheever is third, fourth is Mears, fifth is Lyondike, sixth is Bozell, seventh is Brayton, eighth Fittipaldi, ninth is Goodyear, and 10th now is Pancho Carter. Here's Mike Joy.
Teresa Fittipaldi designs jewelry as a hobby and as a kind of sideline business, and therein is the tale. She bought a pair of her own earrings. Well, she didn't buy them. She wore them to the 500 last year, MO1. So, Mrs. Lyondike buys a pair this year. Ari wins the Indy 500, and here is Sandra Andretti. Expecting the couple's second child, and wearing, are these the famous earrings? And they must look as lucky as everybody says they are.
Well, everyone says they're lucky. I thought, what the heck, might as well try anything at this point.
Did you believe it when you bought them?
No, I'm not superstitious at all. I did it for the fun of it.
Looks like they're worth the price. How much?
$375.
Cheap at half the price if Michael wins this race.
Yeah, he may start wearing them.
Yeah.
And there'll be two drivers out there with earrings.
Yes. I saw it.
I think that's the water. From,
you're right. I think it's
where it's run under the pit wall from where they doused Didier Taylor.
Yes. And there you see the number 29 car. That's Pancho Carter. And what a run he's having today in that Lola Cosworth. He's come up to 10th position. He had a great time qualifying. He picked up almost 2 seconds in the last qualifying period. I said, what happened? He said, it was simple. I drove this place like a dirt track.
And you have to.
You do have to drive this place.
Yeah, you've got to be able to turn that steering wheel and get the car loose and dig it out of the corners.
You've got to drive around here like a sort of free spirit with a bit of gay abandon. You've got to let it flail about, and you've got to let yourself be absolutely unrestricted to get a rhythm, because getting a rhythm through these 17 turns is extremely important, and it's a big part of the day. The only thing is, of course, the penalty to pay if you just go a little bit over the top as you whip a wheel up on the wall.
Leader Card Racing, one of the grand old names, John.
Oh, yes, I drove for Leader Card, Bob Wilkie at Indianapolis. Oh, gosh, what year was that? Too long to remember, I guess. I won my first race, my first championship car race at Atlanta for Bob Wilkie and A.J. Watson, the famed IndyCar mechanic. So, yeah, a lot of fond memories of Leader Card.
A.J. Watson was sitting on the wall just a few moments ago out here.
17th year for Pancho Carter in competition, and this is going to be a great finish for him. Of course, he also came out with a pretty good start this year with an 8th down there in Phoenix.
Scotty Brayton is on fire. He has a fire on the right side of his car. He's got the speed up. It's going to eat a hole in the bodywork, I'm sure, and he's headed around, I hope, to the pits. But that car has a fire raging under the engine cover on the right rear side.
Let's hope he knows.
7th place car, Brayton, one of the Dick Simon cars.
He is heading to the pits. He's coming in now. There he's obviously someone radioed and told him.
Now, funnily enough, we'd had a report right at the beginning of the race that Scott Brayton's car was smoking, and he's gone all this way without any problems at all. And now something has in fact ignited under there.
Well, they've tried to put.
They're going to have to stop and have a look and see what
they tried to put the fire out. He wants to keep going because it'll be a good finish for him. You know, and they're hungry. That team is hungry for a good finish. They've had some problems. He's not getting it going like he wants to.
Down to the final moments. And Michael Andretti, who came so close last year, who dominated this race, as he has this year. But with about 42 laps in the book, got his foot all caught up in some wire in the communication system, and that was the day. And car number 22 is coming back on the track. It may have had a fire, but it's been extinguished, and Brayton is back out. See if he's been able to sustain that position.
Well, with only 3 laps to go, if he just sits out there and twiddles around, he might be able to hold his position and not lose any spots.
He's dropped 1. Emerson Fittipaldi has pulled into 7th, and Brayton has dropped to 8th. That means that Scotty Goodyear is now up to 9th, that brilliant young Canadian driver, and Pancho Carter stays 10th.
And Michael Andretti is about to put Emerson Fittipaldi yet another lap down, although Fittipaldi is going better now, but he's probably missing at least 1 gear. And there we see the 22, and it's still on fire.
Fire, raging again. They've got a real serious problem.
That seemed pretty unwise to me to just throw that water on and then drive out without at least looking to see what it is.
There's a cause for that, and it could be a broken exhaust header that's causing the problem. It sounded a little off key when he went by here and by us, and it's a situation where he needs to get in and find out. We'll take the engine cover off the last couple of laps if he needs to.
It could be that it's spewing out oil or something onto the exhaust header too, although it did sound like broken.
Meanwhile, here's the leader, Michael Andretti, honing in on a victory. first American to win in this Detroit Grand Prix. It can happen right here. Set on the pole a year ago, did it again this year, looking for his 10th IndyCar victory. Will it hang together for the Andretti family?
Mrs. Andretti looking just a bit pensive, hoping just that it will happen. Hoping those earrings work.
Yes, one more lap is all she's hoping for him to be able to get around the racetrack and take that checkered flag and pay for those earrings.
And he's not slowing up either. That last lap, as we saw, came up at 86 odd miles an hour. He only qualified at just a tad over 88, so he's not hanging around. And there's the fire in the tunnel.
Yes, now look at that. See the car blazing now. He's really got to get in and
it's a showman.
I'd say he needs to tend to that.
It may be a tad warm out there.
It could be. More ways than one.
You don't want to take any risk with fire. It's a nasty thing.
And particularly with these methanol fires. All right, tough on Scott Brayton, Coldwater, Michigan driver. And here you see Michael Andretti into the final moments now. He's had a win in each of the last 4 years. He sure would like to keep that record going. There's the crew going to work on Brayton's car number 22.
He's coming out of the car, it appears. It must be getting warm inside. I would think that he needs to pay attention to that and do whatever it takes to be safe. Bobby Rahal. Michael closed in very tight behind him.
Rahal running in second. Michael about to put him a lap down and finish this race in a lap unto himself. Here they are through those final 2 corners, 16 and 17.
Look at, from Rahal's car, it's Michael Andretti. One more lap.
White flag is extended. They flop the flag for the final time. It is Michael Andretti closing up on Rahal to just dust off the entire field. This has been some impressive race for Michael Andretti. It's been the biggest advantage anyone has enjoyed this year. Michael Andretti storming around his 2.5 miles, 17-turn track at a record speed. New record being established for the Detroit Grand Prix by the young man from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, 28 years of age, whose dad is going to stay here and sponsor a party for the crew workers all around this racetrack. This kind of man Mario is. World champion, Indy champion, Daytona champion, but Mario is, I think that's what's so neat about the Andrettis. They're people's people.
I think here we're seeing a little discretion is the better part of valor. I think Michael could have put a lap on the entire field if he had wanted to be a little macho. But it looked like he pulled up behind Bobby Rahal and said, no, I'm going to settle down and just be happy to win this thing and not worry about being a lap on the field.
Bobby's saying, oh, didn't see you there.
Well, it looks like he's also going to get revenge for that Milwaukee finish when he had the race won. Just absolutely his, no question about it. And then boom, boom, out of fuel, a couple of laps to go. That was disastrous in Milwaukee, and Michael right now is on his way. Looks like he is clearing out everybody in the last moments except one man for this victory around the Rahal car, getting set for the finish. Give it all to Michael Andretti this afternoon. Gets them all. Boy, he has done a job.
There it is.
The finish. Michael Andretti. By nearly a lap. Only one other car in the lead lap. Cheever finishing third, a lap down. Mears fourth. Lyondike fifth. Boiselle in sixth. He was 2 laps down. Emerson Fittipaldi will get 7th. Scott Goodyear 8th. That's Michael's 10th career win. 20th win for the Newman Haas team. And 17 with Mario. The last 3 with Michael.
Paul Newman here to see it, so he'll be pretty happy about that. And the way that Mario was going to start with, they could have had a 1-2 here very easily.
It's been a sensational victory for Michael Andretti, who ran out of fuel when he had it right in his grasp at Milwaukee. Today, that was not to happen. Second place car, that is Bobby Rahal. He's done it with a Lola Chevy this afternoon, and Eddie Cheever will come home third. Around this track another time for Rahal. He gets ready to bring it on in. In the 4th spot will be Rick Mears. 5th will be Ari Lyondike. Boiselle gets 6th. Fittipaldi 7th. Scott Goodyear comes up to 8th. Pancho Carter pulls up another slot into 9th. And Scott Brayton will finish in 10th. How about Jeff Wood? That number 44 is going to get 11th today. We'll be back to meet the champion here at Detroit shortly. So stay with us on CBS for more of the Valvoline Detroit Grand Prix.
Michael, you ran so fast today that we got a lot of time left at the end of the show. We can do a long interview.
It's great. It's great. I'll tell you, the Kmart Haviland car was running like a charm all day. We had a little bit of brake problems when we were being pressured by Danny, but other than that, this car was unbelievable.
If this thing had a gas gauge, what would it read?
Have a lot of fuel left over.
Really?
Oh, yeah, we made sure of that.
No kidding. What was your toughest part of the race, Michael?
Well, when Danny was all over us, you know, just trying to pick my way through traffic without overusing the brakes, you know, that was my biggest concern, and I didn't mind keeping him at, you know, a second and a half, but that was all the closer I wanted to let him get.
What'd you think of when you saw your father parked by the side of the road?
Yeah, it was disappointing. You know, it's a shame because it's great to be able to do this for Kmart in our hometown, and I think we could have had a 1-2 if he would have hung in there.
You know what you did today, Michael? The last time anybody led a race start to finish in the 80s was your dad, Elkhart Lake, 1987. He did it 4 times, and you're the only other driver to go from flag to flag uninterrupted, so you're going to be in the record book.
Well, that's great. I'm really happy. You know, this, you know, it's nice to keep it all in the family. You know, like, I just can't say enough about the crew and the pit stops. I screwed up once stalling in the pits. My heart skipped a few beats, but the guys are right on it, got the starter, and away we went. So
it makes up for Milwaukee, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, continue. Good luck, Michael Andretti. Let's go now down pit road to colleague Mike Joy with Eddie Cheever, the third-place finisher.
Well, the most experienced driver on this course came home with a third-place finish. And would you hold that up for our camera? Look at what he's been driving with here over the last few laps. How do those hands feel right now?
I got one on my butt that's even worse. It was a very bumpy circuit. I think that's the best we could have done with the equipment we had. I mean, Chip Ganassi's put together a brand new team this winter, and I mean, we've really been working very hard. And I'm glad. It's a good place. It's a very prestigious race to do well in. We've done well here. We're getting a new car very soon. And I'm just pleased for everybody, for Target, for our mechanics, everybody.
Well, Truly, your experience with this course paid off today.
I had a hard time with my brakes after about 10 laps. I just couldn't hold anybody off, and they were going by me really quickly. Then I lost my clutch another 10 laps later. But experience pays off anywhere, especially at a place like this. And I'm particularly pleased that it's bringing us up in the points, and it was all in all a good weekend for us.
What about the feeling in this town? There are folks here who miss Formula One. There are folks here who like IndyCar racing. How do you judge the mood around this track and around the downtown Detroit with the change?
I think the people in Detroit are probably the luckiest spectators in the world. They've managed to see the best of both worlds. They've seen the best in Indy, and they've seen the best in Formula One. There are not many crowds in the world that could say they have done that. They're two different categories. I mean, I'm excited to race in both of them, and I'm having a lot of fun here, and I hope we go uphill from now on.
Congratulations on a great job today. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
Sandra, tell us now, how much was it Michael and how much was it the earrings?
Oh, it was all Michael and all his wonderful team, I'm sure.
What kind of guy is he going to be tonight, and what kind of guy was he after that Milwaukee loss?
Well, he's going to be 2 completely different people because he was miserable after Milwaukee, and he's going to be one happy guy tonight.
You know, racing drivers have tremendous egos and wills to win. He takes it pretty hard when he loses. How will you celebrate this evening?
Well, we'll just fly home and enjoy a quiet evening at home. And, of course, watch the race, I'm sure.
Oh, that's good. How are you feeling? You know, big day. When is the big day? When is the family going to increase?
November 3rd.
November 3rd. You got a big smile, Sandra. Good luck to you. Thanks for coming by. Okay, let's go back now to Ken Squire.
Average speed, 84 miles per hour, by which it has been won today. It is an incredible performance for Michael Andretti. He's done it from start to finish. It's all been his day. Bobby Rahal trying to get his composure here. Hope to talk with him in just a moment after this 9th annual Valvoline Detroit Grand Prix. Stay with us. We're back with you, and let's take a look at the final standings after 155 miles, 62 laps here in Detroit. Michael Andretti comes home victorious. Bobby Rahal lap back in second, or just on the end of the lap. Eddie Cheever third. Then came Rick Mears. Ari Lyondike was in fifth. Taking a look at the 6th to 10th position, Boiselle gets the 6th position. Emerson comes home 7th. Rounding out that 10 was Scott Brayton with a good finish. Finishing in 11th here today was Jeff Wood, and that was the last of the cars running at the end of the race. Running in 12th was Randy Lewis. Didier Tays going further back in the field. There you see Mike Groff was off to a pretty good run. Then he had some problems to put him aside. A.J. Foyt, rest of the group. And as we go all the way back to the early people that retired from the event, sad to see that Mario Andretti and Fabi were there, along with Dobson, Al Unser, and the first man out was Teo Pomerod. Let's go to Mike Joy right now with the second-place competitor.
A tremendous drive by Bobby Rahal and a fine second-place finish here. But what's it like driving hurt? You've got quite an egg on that hand and at least one layer and not a whole lot of skin left there.
There goes my golf game tomorrow. I guess. It's so rough there in the steering wheel, and I blistered the hand earlier in the week, and actually that doesn't hurt. It's this new one that came up in the race, and you know, it was just a hard race, and you know, just took its toll.
What does that? You, Eddie Cheever, the same thing? Is it the bumpiness of the track?
Well, it's a kicking in the steering wheel. You go over a bump, and the car's lurching all over the place, and you know, we obviously had to get the car a little bit better over the bumps, but you hit so many of these bumps and while you're turning the steering wheel instead of just going over them straight, that you get a real kick through the steering wheel under your hands, and it really takes its toll after a while. It hurts.
Was it a technical race today, a race of patience?
Well, for us, you know, we got ahead of Eddie, and I was really concerned about our brakes, so I started babying them a little bit, and we a little lost touch with Michael. Then when Emerson came up, I didn't want him to get past me, and we went quicker, I think, than what I qualified at. And we were concerned of fuel at that point, so we're running full lean, and it was just one of those races where I didn't want to let Emerson get ahead of me, but I knew that barring, you know, misfortune, Michael, you know, I couldn't catch Michael, so it's just a matter of getting to the end, and we were very concerned about our fuel mileage. It was close, so I babied it all the way through it, and I guess, you know, we're happy with second.
Now, obviously, golf is out for tomorrow, but what about that hand for next race?
Oh, it'll be okay. You know, it's, I got a week, and we'll toughen it up.
Great job of mind over matter, Bobby Rahal. Let's go to Chris.
I'm here with Debbie Rahal, the wife of Bobby. A big smile on your face there. What has come over Bobby this year? He used to be a very scientific, precise driver, and he's a tiger in 1990. What's the difference?
I think that, you know, he's very focused, and I think with Al as a teammate, I think it's helpful sharing information, but I think also he's feeling very, very competitive because, you know, he has somebody else to compete against. He's competing against himself, Al, and everybody else.
Is he a different man at home?
Yes, he is, actually. He's becoming very focused in all kinds of things. And I think with his businesses as well, he has a lot to prove to himself and to others.
People are going to ask us what it is you're wearing and why.
Oh, my hard turtleneck here? Yeah. My oldest horse, I have a couple of horses, and he fell and slid in the mud when we were out riding a couple of weeks ago, actually the week before Indy, and I broke a couple of vertebrae. I was thrown off.
Well, I hope you're a quick heel. Thanks so much for stopping by, Debbie. Let's go now to Ken Squire.
Let's take a look at the race summary here. There you see it. Average speed 84.902 miles per hour with a heavy attrition. 11 cars there. The winning car being rolled by us right now. The car of Michael Andretti, which will go back for its final inspection, then be declared winner of the Detroit Grand Prix. As it happened 1 year ago here at Detroit, Rick Mears has taken over the PPG CART standings. 69-68 for Al Unser Jr. And as they move to Portland, Oregon, Emerson Fittipaldi finds himself third and Bobby Rahal in fourth spot. Gee, it was a tremendous race for Michael Andretti, Johnny Rutherford.
Well, it really was. He dominated. He looked good all day. He made up for that Milwaukee fuel run out, and I'm sure he's tickled death with that. It gives him a chance at the points at the end of the season. It was a great race all day, and of course the points are closing up with Rick Mears now leading by 1 point.
David?
Well, Michael's still trailing rather badly with only 45 points, but I said at the beginning it wouldn't be a simple Sunday afternoon drive, and I think Bobby Rahal's hands bore testament to that. What he didn't say, of course, is these guys as well, you know, they sweat very, very profusely in these cars, and your gloves and all your clothing gets absolutely soaked wet, so it makes your hands extremely soft, and that's why they get these blisters as well. But I was impressed with the way that Michael and Eddie Cheever looked just as if they'd just gone for a Sunday afternoon drive. A good race.
A thought from Mike Joy.
Well, it's a good thing Michael Andretti will be the one to hoist this trophy. It's pretty heavy, and I don't think right now either Rahal or Cheever with those blisters could do it. Ken, you have to admire fellows who play in pain in any sport, but to wrestle a 900 horsepower car inches from these concrete barriers on the edge of control in a sport that requires enormous mental discipline and toughness, my hat's off to him.
Okay, front. Well, you're looking at some of the people who follow the sport of automobile racing, America's #2 spectator sport behind baseball. You can understand the great popularity this sport has engendered in recent years because of drives like the one shown us today by Michael Andretti, a true sportsman. You know what? When this race is talked about, no one will remember that there was no pass for the lead. It was that kind of an exciting day. And our congratulations to Michael Andretti, a well-deserved win. Now let's go back to Ken Squire.
Well, it appears that Indianapolis Car Racing, the PPG Series, really has a firm foothold here in Detroit. Looked like a good crowd on this Father's Day, and we want to thank all of you for being with us for our flag-to-flag coverage and remind you that next Sunday we'll be at Michigan International Speedway with the NASCAR Winston Cup cars, and hope you'll join us there for our flag-to-flag coverage as well. That's pretty much the story this afternoon here at the Detroit Grand Prix, where Michael Andretti is on the podium. Bobby Rahal finds himself in second position, and Eddie Cheever comes home in third. And so for Chris Economaki, David Hobbs, Johnny Rutherford, and Mike Joy, this is Ken Squire saying so long from the 1990 Valvoline Detroit Grand Prix.